Well, I'm going to stand up because I'm excited to help convene this group. And I'll say I'm always a little bit sad to pull the group to seats when you're talking and connecting with each other, because I think that's a really important part of tonight. And, you know, I think as this group gets going, you'll want to get to know each other so that you can have comfortable conversations. So that's great. I hope that we'll find some more time to get to know each other that way. My name is Jim Becklenburg, and I'm Littleton City Manager. I have a different looking name tag here than the rest of you. It's looking purple ones, because I'm here
Does that
tonight.
mean you rode the short bus here?
Yes, I think so, yes. Because I'm here tonight to help with a welcome and help to orient. I probably won't be with you each of our meetings, but I'm joined by our very capable city staff. Mike Gent, one of our deputy city managers. Reed Betzing is over here. And
Getting his computer.
getting his computer. Thanks, Pam. And I'm sad to say, and I'm fearing, I know her regrets that probably the key staff person to the committee is our city clerk, Kelly Norton, who had what I understand is a wonderful trip to England, came back and now has some bronchitis. So she really wanted to be here tonight, and I know she is very serious and excited about this process, and she'll be with you to lead much of the process as we go forward. I want to thank you for your service. This is no small task that you have volunteered for. I'm sure if you haven't heard, you will many times. Some of you have been part of these processes. But when you think of the city's charter versus our city's code, the city's charter is more like a constitution for the city, where our municipal code is more like statutes or laws that can be changed by a governing body, legislature, or whatever that governing body might be. So it is like that constitution. I would also compare it to the bones of our governance. It doesn't change very often. And you all have the opportunity, and I think a serious, kind of solemn challenge to work together to review the charter and to consider, and I think parse out, have some discernment about what kinds of things our community needs belong in the code, which I would argue are most of the things that we do belong in the code, standards and rules and all of those things, versus those bones, which are really those fundamental kind of framework, structural components that will serve us presumably for a long time and for the future, as most of our current charter does. So once again, I thank you tonight. Our agenda, as you see it, was mostly about orientation, getting to know each other a little bit, and to plan your future schedule in the way that you choose to lead yourselves and plan your meetings. So taking from here, I'm going to turn it over to our city attorney, Reed Betzing, who can help to kick off the rest of the agenda.
Thank you, Jim. And I'm sorry I had to step out. I forgot an important thing, which was actually computer to run our exciting slideshow. So yes, as Jim mentioned, my name is Reed Betzing. I am the city attorney for Littleton. I guess I'm starting my 7th year with the city, which is pretty good for city attorneys as far as Littleton goes. But I have been involved in municipal law for 20 years. So I feel like I have a pretty good background in a bunch of various areas of municipal governance, and excited to be here. Normally, Colleen Norton, who is our fantastic city clerk, would be here running the show, but she is out tonight, feeling a little under the weather. So gonna make her feel better soon. And so She has entrusted us to lead you through kind of our orientation tonight. So I think probably a good way to get started is just to go around and introduce ourselves. Perhaps what you do, what your interest is, how long you've been with the city of Littleton, perhaps if there's living in the city. That would help. Yeah, and what you hope to bring to the committee. Mike, have you introduce yourself? So we'll go that way.
I'm Mike Chen. I serve in the city manager's office and do whatever these guys tell me to do. I live near Euclid Middle School. I've been here for about 2.5 years now.
I love the community. I love the people that are in the community.
And I really, one of my very favorite things about the city of Littleton is the people who choose to live here and how willing they are to contribute to this place being a special place. And that certainly includes all of you volunteering to be part of this committee. Thank you very much for your service.
I'm Jim Becklenburg. I'm the city manager, and I've been with the city for 3 years now, and also I'm thrilled to live here. I live in the South Park neighborhood, and we'll just echo Mike's sentiment. I've worked in several different communities over about 30 years in local government, and this is the best community, the most engaged community. You know, see that this many folks are willing to serve on a charter review commission is just one more testament to that. So it's a privilege to be able to serve this community, and to see this committee move forward.
My name is Jose Briones. I am a resident of Littleton Village. And yeah, I've been in Littleton for the past 3 years. I relocated from the state of Georgia. And yeah, it's just been great to be here. It's a great little city, little town. And I've enjoyed, getting to see all of the nature and out Littleton downtown. Love our city. I wanted to provide some service to it. And I think this is a very important document that guides not only my future, but the future of all residents. So it's a privilege to be here.
I'm Kel Brizak. I grew up in Littleton. I've been here since 1963. A small business owner. And I remember 10 years ago attending, I think almost all but one of the Charter Review Committee meetings when it convened for the first time in a long time, 10 years ago.
Thank you. I'm Phil Cernanek. I also live in Littleton Village, so I'm a neighbor of Jose's. And a former city council member, served as mayor as well. And so this is not my first service to the city in that regard. You're also constituents in that I serve on the advisory committee for aging for the 8 metro points. And with this, I'm very intent in seeing that everyone has a chance to feel heard. That this actually is a good experience. When I crossed the country on my bike, it was be safe, have fun, and spread joy. With that, I hope that we can have some smiles in this group along with our serious moments. So, thank you.
My name's Dan Curran. I am too a native of Littleton. I grew up here and a proud graduate of Heritage High School. Also went to Whitman Elementary and Euclid. I now live here with my wife and our 2 daughters who are both at Heritage. In my history, my mother and father were very involved in Littleton. They were founding members of the Friends of the Library, the Friends of the Museum, Town Hall Arts. My father was on the board that brought Martin Luther King to Littleton back when they ran the Commission on Human Rights. And so I moved away for 20 years, came back, and I've now lived here for 16 years. And I have never held up to what my parents did for Littleton. So, I figure I should get involved, and this seems like a great opportunity. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Denise Weed. I have served on boards and commissions for about 15 years now in Littleton. So my heart's in Littleton. My family's heart is in Littleton. My husband and I are raising our 2 kids here. They go to Littleton Public Schools. My son is 13. My daughter is 9 going on 13. And we're we're working our way through that. But I'm just thrilled to be here with all of you. I think this is a really great opportunity to sit down and go through this and work together as the neighbors that we are.
My name's Billy Gooch. I live right off of Southbridge Park by Jackass Hill, Heritage High School. We bought our house in Littleton in 2014. I've been in Colorado for 24 of the last 25 years. But yeah, I'm just looking for opportunities to give back and be a part of the community. So I volunteer at Pepper's Senior Dog Sanctuary. I donate blood every 2 weeks. I deliver books to homebound seniors for Arapahoe libraries. I do Cycling Without Age, like Mike Gent there. So again, just looking for opportunities to make Littleton the kind of place I enjoy being.
Sarah Hernandez. I moved to Littleton in 2013. I own a private practice. I do therapy on first responders, and my husband's a police officer. I'm really just looking forward to getting more involved with the city. I've got 2 kiddos as well. I have a sophomore at Arapahoe High and an 8th grader at Powell. I live in the Oak Brook neighborhood over there, just kind of behind Littleton Hospital. And so, yeah, I just want to get more involved, meet more people, see where things can go from there. Love the city.
I'm Phil McCart. I lived in Littleton the first time in 2018. Bought a place in Parker and then got back here as fast as possible. In 2023, and what brought me to Colorado in the first place was Lockheed. I'm much closer to home in Missouri than I was in California. So very happy when Lockheed moved me out here. And I also was heavily influenced by Robert Putnam, the author of Bowling Alone. And he is the reason why I'm involved in civic life. And so I read that book slightly before moving back to Littleton and then got involved immediately in 23. And I'm also the current South Metro Fire Rescue Board of Director that represents Littleton and parts of Jefferson County. So yeah, if you guys want to talk about that, talk to me. Whatever Bruce's position. So, yes, I got appointed to Bruce's position, which came much sooner than anybody wanted to. Yeah, tragic. So.
John Schmidt, been resident of Littleton since 2014. I too have 2 kids, or 1 kid that went through Heritage High School. She's at University of Miami in Ohio now. And then we have a soon-to-be junior at Heritage. And so we live over in the Heritage neighborhood and to give back to a community that's given a lot to us over the last 10 years. So happy to be part of this committee.
I'm Tam Sincere. I have been in Littleton for the last 12 years. I married a local, so I kind of have a little bit of local status there. I'm originally from California. He condescended to marry me, so blessings. Yeah, and this is my first time on a committee, but I have an obsession with technical documents. I'm a proposal manager in my day-to-day, so language is really important, and I am obsessed a little too much with grammar, so.
You make up for me.
I'll get my red pen out.
I'm Josh Stewart, and I love this community. I've been in Littleton proper since 2018. I've lived near Powell for the last 21 years. So we just came over here about 6 years ago, but not too far away. My family and this community and their outpouring of love for my family really makes me want to give back to Littleton. And so that's why I'm here. And, you know, being a part of the charter committee, I feel like I can improve on community and the way that our government interacts and engages our citizens. So that's what I'm hopeful for.
Hi, I'm Carrie Wheeler. I am not from Littleton. I was born and raised in Lakewood. So I went to Bear Creek High School and then went to undergrad at CU and then went to graduate school out of state. But Littleton's really special. I mean, growing up in Lakewood, the comparison is just, there's just nothing. A few years ago, before it was disbanded during COVID, I volunteered for I volunteered to shovel snow for people who, people who needed assistance. They were otherwise, for whatever reason, they're otherwise very independent and mobile in their homes. But snow shoveling was just maybe a bridge too far. And I just thought like, Lakewood didn't offer anything like this. This is so cool. So I was happy to do it, and it just really made me realize Littleton's a very special place. We've been here for 11 years. Bought our house on Halloween, actually, in 2014, I guess. And so, yeah, I'm thrilled to be involved. This is also right up my alley. I've been a contracts negotiator for a very long time. I'm very well preserved. You shocked to know how long. So this is right up my alley, and is a way that, suits my professional skill set, as a way that I can contribute, hopefully, and takes some of what I've been successful at in my professional life and try to contribute here the best I can. My other skills are things you probably wouldn't be interested in, so or wouldn't benefit the city like this could. So very glad to be here. Nice to meet all of you.
Longtime serving mayor of Lakewood, now lives in Littleton.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
My name is Kent Bagley, and I think the first thing I would want to say is that service is very important to me. I've lived in Littleton for about 32 years. We had our house built in '94, and I'm retired. I've experienced a lot of activity with the city. I've been the chair of the Planning Commission, the chair of the Transportation Mobility Board, elected to the RTD board. So during my entire time frame living in the city, I participated in a lot of different ways, and I'm excited to be involved in the Charter Review Committee. I have been involved, I think Carol and I may have been, you were on it 10 years ago.
I was a citizen observing 10 years ago.
I think I was involved about 10 years ago doing some of that too. So I'm very excited about that. My background is urban planning and commercial real estate. And again, I'm retired. I grew up on the East Coast, and I've lived here since 1960. So pleased to be here with the rest of you, and look forward to having the opportunity to chat. And I have a question. Can we get a list of the people that are on? Or is that already in the?
I'll give you a look. I have one, but I'll certainly provide that.
Okay, sure.
We can know who everyone is. So thank you. I would say this, and I don't want to re-echo, maybe I will. I want to re-echo some of the things that Jim spoke to, but obviously, when we go around the room, we hear your passion for the city of Littleton. It is so very much appreciated. This volunteerism, I know with this, it was kind of volunteerism, as you were all kind of recommended by individual council members to have a seat here, but they speak very highly of you, and it's no wonder that you were selected as representatives to come represent our citizens as we take a look at this document. As Jim mentions, this is basically our city's constitution. The whole idea of having a charter was to allow for us to be a home rule municipality. And essentially what that does is it allows us to govern a little bit more exclusively within our own city. Decide what we want to do in terms of land use planning. Decide what we need to do, what we want to focus on in terms of crime, things like that. Any number of things to have greater control of. In recent years, as we know, the state has started encroaching on some of those issues. Certain mandates have come through, and they may be very well thought out and good ideas and good intentions behind it, but at the end of the day, that encroaches upon our home rule authority. So when we talk about amending our charter, the charter was adopted back in 1959. So a lot has changed in 1959. The purpose of it, to echo some of the things that Jim said, is kind of that guiding document. It's really designed to talk about the form of government that we would have. So we've got a council manager form of government. That is essentially, the city manager, Jim Becklenberg, runs the city. Council doesn't run the city. Council provides direction, usually at more of a higher level, setting those kind of policy goals. They're obviously going to be adopting ordinances, or in other words, known as laws, certain things like that, making determinations regarding the financial expenditures we should be directed towards. But generally, it's that document, the city charter, that lays out kind of the core responsibility, the core powers of both our city council, as well as our city manager, our finance director, how we do elections. We'll get into all that fun stuff that's contained in the charter. Sometimes some stuff ends up in the charter, which isn't super great because it's kind of hard to change the charter. You know, we have a citizens initiative that's being circulated now. Actually, it's finished being circulated. It's now being tabulated. And the effect of that charter change would lead to some limitations on our city council's authority to legislate in the area of land use. Not here to talk about that, but amending the charter is usually pretty challenging. And I think some of the folks here could speak to the fact that in the past, there were certain charter recommendations that seemed somewhat innocuous, that you would think, well, no one's gonna have an issue if we just change this word or change that word. But didn't like it. I don't, you know, I'll give an experience in the city of Inglewood. City of Inglewood recently went through kind of the same process. All cities form kind of a charter review committee from time to time. And they go through it. And one of the things that they found in their charter was it said a lot of he's. There were a lot of he's, and they just wanted to take out the pronoun. So, you know, let's get rid of, you know, the city manager, he shall do this and he shall do, let's get rid of that. Let's go through and change it. It got voted down. I don't know why it got voted down, but people just didn't like change. So when we put stuff in the charter, it can be challenging to change. So that's why the city is generally opposed to messing with the charter unless it's good ideas. So with that said, where am I? Why are we here? As mentioned, we have a charter review committee charter section within our charter. That's low charters. But it basically says that city council is gonna periodically appoint a charter review committee to go through, take a look, and make recommendations. The last time I think we convened the charter review committee would be 2012, 2013. And so the language basically says that the committee shall consist of at least 14 members. They could certainly appoint more if they would like to, but the way that we decided, or council decided to form the committee is each council person would get an opportunity to recommend 2 persons for appointment. And so I guess you are particular council members, you know, favorites. So that's why you're here. And you're probably very knowledgeable regarding the city charter and what we're doing. So as mentioned, the role of our city council, they basically set the policy. They set the direction of our city. And it's the city manager's job to make sure, do his best, or her best, in this case, his best, to make sure that we're trying to deliver on some of those goals, some of those
Most of
action
them.
items. Some of them, most of them. Yes, and then we're trying to make them forget about the ones that we didn't quite hit that time. But their job, and I mean, everyone has seen the city council meetings, their job is to approve these horribly written ordinances that someone submits to them all the time. That would be me. And we adopt those as laws. They appoint all the members on our various boards and committees. And in so doing so, a lot of you are either currently sitting on boards, have sat on boards very recently, but you're essentially acting as the agent, the arm of city council, because they cannot do everything. And so your participation on this committee, those boards and commissions is very, very much greatly appreciated and absolutely necessary to keep the city functioning. So our appreciation and their appreciation again for everything that you are currently doing in this role and everything that you have done. So part of the fun agenda thing that we do is we go through kind of a brief training. And as an advisory board, it's gonna be a little bit more brief, so bear with me. But generally, as an advisory board, you're just making recommendations to your city council. We have all sorts of boards, commissions, committees. You have an authority. Licensing authority.
Commission now.
But, so we don't really need to get into quasi judicial because this board is not functioning that way. Essentially, we're just having conversations, we're deciding as a group at the end of the day or at the end of this term to make recommendations to our city council. Hopefully we get some consensus. Everyone agrees that, hey, you probably should change this, or this is important, why? Or this is not important to change. You probably could change it, but not a high priority. How that will be conveyed to our city council, that'll be a question for you all to make that determination. We have some ideas that I'll share with you. I mean, I think a thought would be, I guess we can talk about this when we go into kind of what our scheduling.
Is there a 7-seat torture chamber that we can council into?
That's the next lesson.
Jump in real fast.
Please.
So Reed.
Yeah, I don't really have a script, so you.
Reed mentioned that hopefully we build a consensus where you all agree. It's also okay to have a differing perspective that you stick with too. So while we would have a hope to build consensus, it's okay if you're saying something that's different from somebody else. And the reason why the council appointed you was to come and bring your experience and your perspectives here. So we hope that this is becomes a safe place for you to share ideas. Maybe you'll be persuaded and maybe you'll persuade others. But you bring what you have to the table is a good thing. That's why you're here.
And Mike, I vaguely recall last time, there was a majority report as well as a minority report. So for those that choose not to agree with what might be close to a consensus, can be served through a minority report as well.
Yeah, the document that was conveyed last time to our city council, it's part of your packet, you should have it. The format that was used at that time was kind of a spreadsheet. And it went through the various charter recommended changes and had both a pro section as well as a con section for making the change. I think there was the ability to put a legal section because some of the charter changes you may be interested in making, we may not legally be able to do. So that's why I'm here, in theory. That are entertainment.
Yeah, both.
But so we can decide later on the format. I'm just trying to give you all a brief overview of what the expectations should be for this committee and get your legal training over with so you can check that box. So we talked a little bit about home rule city, home rule municipality, and why we do it. Again, it's an opportunity for us to legislate within our own jurisdiction, make those decisions that are important to us as a community and not rely on the state to tell us what should be important. You know, we have a few guiding,
So there's on the last slide, there's other documents that I've seen mentioned, just reading through like the Littleton report, for example. The ULUC, there's a transportation one. Where do those fall in the hierarchy of the, on the last slide, the documents that you just showed?
The charter of the
What are
code.
they? Yeah.
Where am I?
So you have the charter and the code, I think was the next one.
Oh, wait, oh my gosh,
my
I gotta go
gosh.
way back. Holy smokes.
Try the other down.
Presentation for last. This is why Colleen begged me not to do this. Wait, there it is.
Yeah.
Wait, I think I've got it.
Some things like that fall in.
So those are all part of, depending on what it is. So, you mentioned the ULUC. The ULUC is part of our code. So we just refer to it as the Unified Land Use Code. So it's basically one of our ordinances. That one happens to deal with land use. So that is a law. I mean, what's in the ULUC is considered a law. If you're looking for a hierarchy as to how things are,
Or just how does it work?
sure, city charter is at the very top. Anything that's in violation of the city charter should technically not be happening. Underneath that, you would have basically your ordinance. So ULUC would be one, anything within our regular code would be controlling. Our council, and you mentioned, the transportation, TMV, I have to use acronyms, so I apologize.
Transportation Mobility Board.
Yeah, Transportation Mobility Board will adopt certain plans. A lot of the plans are to be used as kind of guiding documents. They're not necessarily law, but they can change as they can change, but we talk about like a comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
That's something you'll hear a lot of. That's a guiding document. And a lot of times within our laws, we'll actually say it has to be for land use. I'll use that specifically. We'll have a provision saying that whatever it is that you're trying to do has to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. So you'll see references to these various plans that our city council adopts, but they're not technically law. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So, generally speaking, we have, these are more of kind of the legal documents. So everyone should have, and I better mention this now. In fact, I gotta mention 3 things. Because when Colleen watches this tomorrow, she's going to yell at all of us. So, the meeting was called to order, although not officially. We started at 6:30. And as I can see, the only member who is not present tonight is Mr. Phil Cooper. So everyone else, thank you. I didn't think we would get 13 out of 14, so congratulations on your attendance. We'll be looking for gold stars. So, yeah, we have certain documents that we tend to use when we're convening our meetings. We have a handbook that everyone has. And for the third thing that Colleen is gonna yell at me, there is actually a place for you to sign that Colleen is going to want. And it's an acknowledgement that you have received said handbook. So if you could do that now, that would be great, because I will forget.
Page 11, and it actually says that you read it and understand.
Never mind. If you can bring it back. I don't
So
want
you can
anyone
bring
to
it
sign
back to the
anything.
next meeting.
So the city attorney's asking to
Right.
sign a document.
Don't sign anything.
Biggest lie we've ever
You
told.
have to read.
It's the same handbook that you've had for, if you've served on
I've already signed it for 2025.
you're probably okay.
Extra credit.
Yeah.
I don't need extra. But thank you.
So we ask you to read it, understand it, ask questions if you have questions, and then sign the document and give it back to us. So the next meeting will be just fine, or anytime before that. You're good.
We should start. So we have certain legal documents, documents that council has adopted that generally govern how we run our boards, how we treat one another. Some of those times when we have questions, we can refer to some of these documents. So we have our standards of conduct and protocol, which have some of just, how do we raise a motion? Should that happen? Things like that. Not gonna be super necessary for this committee, I don't think. We got Robert's Rules of Order. That is a riveting book on parliamentary procedures. So when our own procedure manuals don't speak to something, a question of law that comes up, we refer as a default to the Robert's Rules of Order. And then the handbook. And the handbook is largely kind of just an overview of the expectations for all of our boards that are assembled. A lot of you have already, it's because a lot of you have been on boards or are currently serving. So, now I messed up the screen. Now I'm going backwards. Kind of. So, really is just the 2 legal things that we go over again are the Colorado Sunshine Law i.e. the open meetings law and the Colorado Open Records Act. So the Colorado Sunshine Law, OML, is another abbreviation that you'll hear for it. Basically, talks about public meetings, and it requires all public meetings to be open to the public so that they can show up and learn about what it is that's being talked about. In terms of what quantifies or what qualifies as a open meeting or a meeting is anytime we have 3 or more folks and we're talking about city business. So right now would be an open meeting, and that necessitates certain requirements that we need to take as a government. We have to provide notice. That notice needs to be timely. Timely is considered at least 24 hours in advance. And it's any type of gathering. It's not just a social meeting if you happen to be out at some, location and you happen to run into a couple of other members, commissioners. That doesn't really count, but anytime that we start talking about city business, it's technically a meeting, so you have to run from them as fast as you can. But going back to the notifications, we post all of our meetings in various locations physically. We also put it out on our website so that individuals know when meetings are happening. We're also required, to the best of our ability, to be pretty darn specific in terms of what it is that's going to be discussed. We try our best to provide all those documents that may be referenced in that meeting in advance so that the public has an opportunity to review what it is. We can't just say, the Charter Review Commission or committee is going to be meeting and not have anything in there about what they're meeting about. So we have to be as specific as possible, not completely specific, but general subject matter topics are appropriate. So we have to post all that 24 hours in advance. And in terms of meeting is more than simply this group assembled. Where I see a lot of other jurisdictions get in trouble is with emails. So anytime that more than 2 of you are on an email chain or are sending an email to each other, the state considers that to be a meeting. So you can't send an email to the entirety of the group. That is a violation of the open meetings law because it hasn't been noticed. That's not available to everyone else out there, and so they don't know what it is that you're talking about. It's the whole purpose behind the open meetings law and that transparency aspect, so that when decisions are being made, when direction is being given, that is happening in a public setting where the public can hear the reasoning behind how some of this is happening, and it's not taking place in, behind closed doors or on some email chain that no one's privy to. That does not mean that you as an individual committee member can't have a conversation via email with another committee member. It sometimes makes a lot of sense. So right now, what the Charter Review Committee will be acting in what is called a legislative fashion. You're going to be going through this charter and you're going to be making recommendations, decisions, edits, whatever it is, sections of the charter that you think we could do better or should be changed, or that's confusing, or why do we have this? And sometimes in that legislative capacity, it makes sense to hear from another committee member. It would be great if we could do that here when we all convene. But you can certainly have those conversations. It's going to be possible that you're going to probably ask me, like, Reed, what does this mean? And then I'm going to think about it, and I'll probably ask Carol what Carol thinks it means. That will guide my decision-making process. But there are going to be that conversation. You should be, as in your legislative capacity, you should be looking at what other jurisdictions are doing. I mean, you should be taking in as much information as you can from whatever sources you can and bringing that to the table. You all come with your own experiences, your own backgrounds, and you all have great ideas. So it's not confined to necessarily what you learn in this room or what you learn in this room, but you should be looking at other sources. So, we caution everyone about the emails though, because it's something that unfortunately we see a lot of. I want everyone to be really careful when you send an email out. What most likely will be happening is you're gonna have questions as we go through this. I think the most appropriate person to be sending questions to, because you're gonna go through and be like, I have no idea what section number 12 means. What is this? Send that question to Colleen. So Colleen Norton, C Norton, and it's at littletonco.org. We change all this stuff. recently.
littletonco.gov.
Okay, something. It used to be littletongov.org, now it's littletonco.gov. Okay, and she'll find out the answer. And what we would like to do is when we have all these questions come in from individual committee members, send all those questions to Colleen. We're gonna share the answers with everyone. So it's not just gonna be a conversation that me and Billy are having. He's the only one who knows kind of the secret behind section 13. No, we're gonna take all the questions that we receive. Colleen will be the best person for those to go to because she'll be kind of our repository. Get the answers and we'll share those with the entirety of the group. Because what I found and what I believe is the chances are pretty high that if you don't know what section 13 means, there's probably about 10 of you that don't know what section 13 means. So, you know, there's no dumb questions or anything like that.
And those will be shared in the next meeting, so, and not in an email at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Colleen will email out the whole group, but you, it won't be an exchange. She'll be sharing, like, here's the agenda for the upcoming meeting, that kind of stuff. And then maybe it'll come to a point where we send out answers to questions like that too, so it helps you prepare for the next meeting. But it just won't be an exchange of empty conversation.
We've gone through that, open meetings, no more than 2 or else. So we talked about this, kind of the timely notice, at least 24 hours, be specific in terms of the agenda information. And we also caution, it's mostly city council, we caution folks not to discuss things that aren't on the agenda, that people either, you know, had I known you were gonna be talking about whatever, I would have actually shown up, or I actually would have listened and seen that. It's probably not gonna be as big an issue for you all, because I think, I don't wanna be a spoiler here, but we're probably gonna be talking about the charter every single meeting. So the other.
Our agenda isn't gonna be like, today we will discuss sections 1 through 5, next month we will discuss 6 through 10. It's just gonna be like open discussion of the charter, pretty much every single meeting or.
You know, and that's gonna be up to the group in terms of what you all think might work. I mean, we have some ideas. You probably wanna break this up in sections, would be a recommendation. You know, and not just say who can get through 124 sections. And there are 124 sections of our charter, and make recommendations that perhaps just for ease and efficiency, we take the first 37, or whatever number it is. And that'll be everyone's homework assignment. And some meetings may go faster than others. I know that there may be folks who focus on a particular area because it's an interest, or they have seen, maybe they see a few problems with it. I know our staff has some interest in some of the charter sections. And so we may also offer some recommendations for the group to take a look at. I know Colleen has some cleanup that she'd like made within, I don't want to be a spoiler here or give anyone some secret, but the election section is something that she would just like cleaned up. You know, since 1959, there have been changes at state law that our charter is not exactly tracking as well as it could be. And so some of it is really just, you know, kind of referencing things properly. But there certainly are changes. You could wordsmith probably every section of our charter if you wanted to. Whether or not that would be valuable to the city of Littleton, I don't know. Good. Well, we can talk about that. I mean, it's up to you, you all are, it's your committee, it's not mine, so. Open meetings law. So the ramifications of this are, well, it's embarrassing. I read all these legal things, but I always hear about jurisdictions that are running afoul of open meetings law. So recently I think it was Elizabeth. So any governmental entity, and that includes school districts. You see a lot with school districts for whatever reason violating the open meetings law. They'll get challenged in court. They'll have to pay the attorney's fees. It'll be out in the public that, someone violated the open meetings law. They were making a decision, without it being transparent and on the record. I mean, there's those things. There's the embarrassment. There's the financial cost to it. There's the fact that most likely if a decision was made, which isn't really pertinent for this group, because we're making recommendations, that the court would throw that decision out and say, no, you actually need to call it back up and do it properly. I think what is the most hardest part of violating the open meetings law is the loss of public trust. That is the biggest damage of violating the open meetings law. It's not having to do something over again. It is violating that trust of your citizens who are hoping and expecting that we function in a transparent manner when we're making decisions, that everyone understands what's being considered, how it's being considered, how it was voted on, why it was voted on. So we take the open meetings law violation, I do, very seriously. And it's not something that we seek to violate, so. On a more lighthearted matter, Colorado Open Records Act, CORA. This kind of harkens back to the emails. So because this is a committee, you all are not going to be given a Littleton email address. We'll probably just be using your personal email address that you registered under, unless you currently have a Littleton meeting. But yeah, for some of our quasi judicial boards, which is where they're acting like a judge, and planning commission, HPB is one. And I forget what we call it now. It's the Board of Adjustment and Appeals now. Next, we've got a few where they are assigned city emails. But anytime that we're conducting government business, if you will, and we're sending an email, I'm not the best example because a lot of the communication you would have with me would be considered privileged under the law, i.e. I don't have to disclose certain things when you're asking me for legal advice and I'm providing that legal advice. That's not something that technically, according to the law, we would have to turn on. But if someone was asking Mike, Jen, a question, whatever it is, Mike, I got a question about this or whatever. Technically, someone can file an open records request and say, I want to know every email that Mike, Jen got today, or whatever, every email that Billy sent to the city regarding whatever it is. And we would be compelled to turn that over. We look at open records requests all the time, and we have to provide that information to the person seeking it. There's a certain time limit that we try to go by, which is prior to 3 business days. And then if we need additional time, if it's voluminous or we're just having challenges getting it, we can request an additional 7 days. But all those records are open to the public should someone request them. So we always caution folks to be really thoughtful about what you're putting in your emails. Some things that may seem funny may not seem that funny if they're on 9 News. Just all my emails are funny, but from experience, I've seen where it's not great.
You used to say, if you don't want to read it in the newspaper, don't put it in writing. Now I say, if you don't want to see it on the Jumbotron, don't do it, right?
So don't go to Coldplay.
Terrible.
That's kind of our legal training. I really just want to talk about the open meetings law, make sure that we're all over that and the Colorado Open Records Act. Does anyone have any questions on our brief legal overview.
I got a question.
Yes.
It would seem to me that none of us have email addresses
Yeah.
of anybody else. Unless we know them.
Right.
So we don't have email, I don't have Denise's email address, so I can't send her.
Do you want to?
No, I'm not saying.
The risk is.
I'm just saying, if you, everyone probably has or can figure out my email address. Unfortunately, a lot of people have figured it out. Those types of things. Certainly, I'll defer to Paul in terms of the notification or how she wants you all to be able to communicate with each other. Whether that's,
If we need to.
not for purposes of having a meeting, just
For having.
for planning perhaps, a meeting or getting a thought on something. But that, yeah, good point. So one of the items on this agenda, Colleen's really gonna kill us for butchering her training session.
And by us, she means you.
Yes. So, we talked about it just kind of briefly, but the thought is, and I know Colleen has done a lot to try to coordinate future meetings. I don't know if we necessarily have them all set in the future, but just so that there's expectations for the group, I believe, and if I am wrong, she will tell me that we are selecting the third Thursday,
Today's the fourth Thursday.
the third Thursday of every month to convene. I think she has tried to work with most of you. It's probably gonna be really hard to get all 14 people to be available on every third Thursday. She made me repeat it.
All right.
That's fine.
We said the next three, but said we'd talk about it after that.
Okay.
Yeah, and so as we get closer to November and December, and for expectations for this group in terms of, I know Mr. McCart asked, how long is this gonna go on? You didn't ask it that way. But, I believe the thought is that we'll probably carry this forward until probably the first quarter of next year. The thought is currently that we would meet every month, 6:30. It's up to you all, but maybe we'll just schedule it for a couple hours, 6:30 to 8:30. If we need a little bit longer, if we need less time, super. But that is currently the thought. Right now, we need to kind of coordinate our meetings. We don't like to have two public meetings going on at the same time. Because we want people to have the ability, the public, to actually be able to attend these meetings, so they can attend both at the same time. It's not fair to make them have to go watch something the next day. All these are being recorded. They will be posted. They're not being broadcast contemporaneously, so we actually have to take them down and then put them back up, but they'll be up tomorrow. So if someone was not here for a meeting, or if it was so riveting that they want to watch it again, those are all available online the following day for review. But that's currently, yes.
So just from my understanding, so the public is invited to observe, but there is never any public comment or input period during our meetings?
Correct. I would hope that I would hope that they find you after a meeting or before a meeting, or find me and yell at me, or send emails, and they can send those emails to our city clerk. And if it's addressed to the entirety of the committee, we'll share those with the committee. Yes.
Really, I'm gonna probably adjust that because it's run like a study session
Yes.
in that someone of the public could be recognized.
Sure.
Permission to speak. So it's not that they're absolutely silent, required to absolutely be silent. If someone brought an expert from National League of Cities, and asked for them to be recognized or such, that would be one of the things, so that would be an exception.
Correct. Yeah, there's not an open public comment period. Certainly, the committee can recognize persons who may have an interest, expertise. From time to time, over the next few meetings, you'll probably have staff members who will be here outside of, us. We'll probably bring in our finance director, finance section, because we probably should know what all that financing mumbo jumbo actually means. So our community development director may stop by, and we'll have various folks who have an expertise to be able to better explain perhaps certain provisions within the city charter. But the thought is, as we get close to the holiday months and, the third Thursday starts butting up against Thanksgiving, and those people who celebrate Christmas and are leaving around that time, we'll probably make those decisions a little bit later. So, September, October, we can maybe talk about those meetings that are falling during times where a lot of people, patients are out of town. Try to work with everyone to reschedule it to a different day.
Reed, just to be specific on this, it's August 21st, September 18th, and October 16th.
Correct. That's what I have.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
I have another question. So let's say we meet for Thanksgiving, what is the quorum number required out of the 14 of us to hold a meeting?
So because we're a committee, we don't actually really need a quorum. We're probably not going to meet if there's only 2 of you. But we'll leave that up to the group. And we know it'll be challenging to have all 14 of you at every single meeting, or 13 in this case. But Colleen will work with you all on trying to find good time. And if there's a meeting that you can't be at, and we're talking about a specific section that you've made comments on or had questions on, you can certainly refer those or provide those to Colleen, and she'll get kind of your thoughts, your red lines, whatever it is that you want to call attention to the rest of the group. So we'll try to make sure that your thoughts are incorporated, but we certainly value your attendance. We do believe it's important to make sure we have as many folks together as often as we can. Make these recommendations. And, I assume going forward, we'll probably go through a few sections, and then towards the end, we may want to circle back to sections that we've already looked at, and I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to do that. Go ahead, Jay.
To expand on Reed's answer, I think the reason we don't need a formal quorum, because quorums are the threshold for making decisions or taking action on behalf of the city. So the fact that the nature of this committee is advisory to the council, anything you decide as a group is still advisory and not binding on the city. The quorum certain for action applies to the city council or any of our quasi judicial boards, commissions that have some authority for making decisions.
Yeah, if we were just meeting in a study session, like let's just say, for example, city council was meeting in a study session on our HPB or planning commission, you don't actually need 4 to have the meeting because there's no formal action being taken place. So if we wanted to still have it and there's only 2 people there or 1, we can certainly have it.
There are practical reasons that you
practical reasons why we
want the
probably-
committee to have their spirit of conducting that.
2 questions. So are there any guidelines that we should just be aware of? If, I understand we can't communicate with each other in groups of 3 or more without it being considered a meeting, but what if, are there any guidelines we should just be cognizant of if other members in the community, a neighbor wants to come over, they know we're on the board and they have some feelings that they want to express to us? Is there any regulation or guidance that we should know about?
No, I mean, not in this case, because you're acting in a legislative, so you should get opinions from everyone.
Sure.
Anyone that you can, it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
You take in all sorts of information.
Excuse me, sorry. And my second question is, what is your perspective or your position on virtual attendance if one of us gets sick or has to go out of town suddenly or something like that? Is there the ability to dial in from time to time if it pops up?
So currently, our city council wants attendance and we haven't made a formal exception for folks to appear virtually.
We have for advisory boards. But it's the exception, not the rule.
Sure.
Everybody wants to be in person, but in a couple of instances, we have made a virtual attendance a possibility for a committee member. And so while the council, they very much discouraged it, for advisory boards, they made it available. So, so it could be, and your example of someone being sick is a great example. Please don't come to the meeting if you're not available. Speaking of biological, we should have told you where the bathrooms were. So if you go out these doors to the left, there's a drinking fountain on the wall and the bathrooms are right there. And you're welcome to go and take care of your needs whenever you need to.
There's water in the back too.
And there's water right here with cups too. Yeah, exactly. The security of the building, at some point, the doors do lock. So if you're running out to your car or something, give someone else a heads up so they can let you back in if that becomes an issue. And if worse comes to worse and you're locked out, our emails are in that email that when you got emailed the agendas, you can say, hey, Mike, please come let me in.
And so I think where we are on our agenda that hopefully I've been mildly following is nomination and election of committee leadership. So for all of our boards and committees, we elect a chairperson. The chairperson is in charge of conducting the meeting. Much like you see the mayor do at times, or those of you who have served on boards. Essentially just getting the recognition of folks who want to speak and trying to keep the meeting going along as smoothly as possible. And with that, also a vice chair in case should the chairperson not be able to fulfill their duties on any given night, the vice chair would step in and run that meeting. And so generally, it's more of a procedural honor, if you will, in having that position. Obviously, we'll hopefully get consensus from the group, but we'll also be seeking guidance from the chairperson regarding the homework assignments that you will all be given. Hopefully, the group can make some decisions that have good consensus in terms of how you want to structure the recommendations. How far you want to go in terms of going through the charter. So they'll be instrumental in doing that, but we're hopeful that we can have kind of concise approach to this, make sure we get it done, but make sure that we're not glossing over things and yeah, kind of the time management aspect and knowing when to move on from something in which we're not going to get concurrence. Some people may be very passionate about a particular issue and, you know, once they've been heard, everyone has recognized that and discussions have been had and sometimes it's time to move on from that. So.
I'll add that for the chair would also have probably a little extra responsibility for coordinating with Colleen, just about meetings. So I don't think that's significant time, but you would serve as kind of the representative with Colleen to do some of the planning and logistics too. So.
Are you gonna make them read Robert's Rules of Order? Yes.
So that was.
I have actually already regret to inform you.
Long and boring.
Long story, but it started college.
So I guess at this time, you know, what's on the agenda is a nomination for an election of a committee chair. So I don't know how you all want to do it. If someone is interested in doing it, or someone just wants to go ahead and nominate me to do it, I'm going to.
We cannot.
Appreciate that.
I'd like to nominate Kent Bagley for chair.
I refuse the nomination. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'd like to nominate Jose Briones for chair.
Dan, I'd like to nominate you.
Accept this nomination.
Is there an acceptance or not? I think I'd be happy to be second in, but not first, because I don't know how to lead a meeting.
So that's a great actual point. So we will be at these meetings. We'll also help prepare for meetings. And so even if this was your first time ever being a part of something like this, we will do our best to help you be successful and to help you be comfortable and confident. And when a mistake does happen, believe it or not, mistakes happen sometimes, we correct it. We move along. So I'm not trying to persuade you to accept, but I am saying that we will be with you alongside you the whole way to make sure that you have the resources you need to be successful if you're appointed to serve in that capacity.
That being said, I'd like to nominate the previous mayor. Maybe he knows what's going on.
Cool. Did you
I
accept?
accepted the second position.
He's the vice.
Next discussion.
So Dan, did you accept or not accept?
I accepted vice chair.
This is the next discussion. So
Oh, okay.
declined this.
Any further nominations?
We'll have some discussion. The nominee.
You get out.
We both live in Littleton Village, so.
Jose and I can have a meeting, not a meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
By walking around the block.
Yeah. All right. And before we do that though, that was pretty fast and we don't mean to, abbreviate your opportunity to nominate or even nominate yourself. That's fine too. So before we move into deciding between who's been nominated, are there any further nominations or questions about nominations?
Those nominations need to be seconded.
Robert's Rules of Order would be that. So this is really an abbreviated form of Robert's Rules of Order, to keep it, courteous, those kind of things. So we're probably okay at this point, but, however, certainly if someone feels strongly otherwise, we could, change course. There's like a rule of wait 3 seconds or something. I don't know. I don't hear anybody jumping out of their seat saying, what about me? But certainly, want to make sure that that we're not, closing the opportunity to close. All right, cool. So now we have 2 candidates that have been nominated, Jose Briones and Phil Cernanek. However you guys want to.
By show of hands is easy.
What, do you want to talk about it or ask them questions or?
I guess the only thing I can say is, I've been a clergyman for the past 10 years, so I run a board, at least one per month for the past 10 years. So I'm familiar with, being the chairperson, trying to be as impartial as possible, which is one of the responsibilities. That's my only, credence to being, or accepting and being part of the group as a chair.
And I appreciate the clergy responsibilities as well. I've chaired a number of boards, both nonprofit as well as for-profit organizations. Chaired council members, so if you want to go back into the 20 teens and see some of that, you can argue with it. I'm comfortable with that. And one of the things I find that is good in facilitating meetings is calling everyone one at a time, but calling everyone before the meetings, or at least reaching out and saying, is there something you want to make sure that we cover in the meeting? To make sure that it doesn't get lost, and sometimes folks get caught up in the excitement of the meeting and they forget what it might be, and so it gives them some time to think about it. But that's one of the things that I.
So, a show of hands would be appropriate. Is everybody okay with that?
I assume we do not vote.
Although it's a vote, so, yeah. And so I guess in this first round of voting is only vote for one. That seems fair? All right, so the first nomination was Jose Briones. All those who would like to support Jose Briones as the chair of this committee, please show by raising your hand. 6, 7. All those who would support Phil Cernanek as serving as chair of this committee, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at that. You guys already are decisive and also supportive of each other. That's wonderful. So congratulations, Chair Briones. We appreciate your willingness to serve. So let's reopen nominations for vice chair. We have one nomination so far with Dan.
What I'd like to do is withdraw my nomination, though I really. I would nominate Phil.
So I have a nomination for Phil Cernanek.
Nominate Carrie. Carrie Wheeler.
Thank you. I accept.
Any other nominations? One more time. Would anybody else like to be considered for serving as vice chair? All right, we have two nominations. The first was Phil Cernanek. So if it's okay with you guys, we'll do it again. So just a show of hands, those that would.
We didn't hear from Carrie.
Oh, sorry. We did, thank you very much, Dan. Appreciate that. Well, Phil, since you were nominated first, do you want to say anything about this nomination?
That I would help Jose. Everything else kind of goes and we'll figure it out.
All right, Carrie.
Well, public speaking is not my theme, especially on the fly. Thank you. I guess I would just say I lead a lot at work, quite a lot. I currently in my position, I'm a consultant for Fortune 500 companies. So I'm consistently in charge of client success, project teams that are dispersed across the country for very expensive projects where people want to ask anything and everything of you. So that's client service. And one thing I didn't tell you about earlier when we introduced ourselves, and one of the things that I think inspired me to try to become more active with the city is I actually had the opportunity to work for a niche consulting firm that specializes in budgeting software for the public sector. So city, state, local governments, quasi governments as well, including community colleges. You would be shocked, or maybe you wouldn't, at the size of some of the community colleges around the country. And so it was through that experience working with different cities around the country on their budget, designing their software and implementing it for them, where I really developed a huge heart for the public sector. It became very apparent to me that national politics gets all the attention, all the coverage, where really it's your city, state, and local governments who manage the affairs that impact you on a daily basis. Clean water, the pothole outside your parking lot. And they are given scant resources to provide very significant and important services to the communities that they serve. So like I said earlier, this so happens to be a topic that is in my wheelhouse, whereas any other talents that I have are probably not going to be very useful to you, unless you like to eat. I like to cook. So that's what let me hear. We will not have a meeting though. That's my spiel. Thank you again for the nomination.
Does anybody have questions for the two candidates before you ask for a vote?
You guys have to make this hard by being likable.
So again, just in the order that they were nominated, all those who support Phil Cernanek as vice chair of this committee, please show by raising your hand. 6, 7, 8, 9. And my little count, just so we know, have a record. All those in support of Carrie Wheeler as vice chair, please raise your hand.
We were voting for myself,
Not at all.
Twice.
No one voted twice, thank you. I was kidding. All right, thank you very much. So congratulations to Mr. Phil Cernanek, and we appreciate your service as vice chair. Thank you. Woo-hoo.
Good job. Did the new chair take over?
I was going to ask.
Well, the meeting is for the most part, concluded. At least what we had scheduled for tonight. We didn't necessarily want to get through the charter when not everyone would have had an opportunity to actually start reading through it. Be ready for that discussion.
We're not gonna do the discussion topics. You know.
We did agendize the review. It's just so with Colleen gone, we revisited the agenda and we thought that it might be a little bit much to go through all of the proposed charter revisions from 10 years ago.
I'm gonna ask not about the charter revisions proposed last time and the status, because that's in some of the documents that they have. But current considerations by council, I haven't seen a document of that.
Yeah.
Is that summarized gonna be distributed, or is that something Jim and Mike are gonna share with us what's on council's mind?
Yeah, they have not planned a study session to that effect yet. I think they are, I've heard some discussion of what they want, you know, what should their role be. So I don't know, we know yet.
So it's to be determined.
Yes.
It would be nice if it happens before the next meeting. They can comment on that.
And in terms of what council has been discussing recently, a lot of it has had to do with some of the capital improvements that the city may be willing to do, some of our debt capacity. They haven't made a decision in terms of how to fund future projects. There's obviously some interest in a variety of different funding mechanisms, whether it's being get into it, but certificates of participation, which the city has used a few times. We actually paid off a COP over at our courthouse last year at the end of December. And so currently the city is debt free. As we go through the charter section, we'll come across a section that involves debt financing. And there is a cap that's within our city charter that limits the city's ability to issue a certain amount of debt. And so
To even ask voters to consider it.
right, yeah. Obviously, when we're incurring debt in terms of issuing bonds, that's a voter question. We have to go to the voters to ask that. There is also a limitation within our charter that kind of constrains our ability to go out and get more. And so I know our council we've talked about it. Does it make sense to change that number to something more consistent with what state law would allow for a city to do? That hasn't been decided, but certainly that will be a question for you all to make recommendations on if council actually makes a decision in terms of a recommendation. We'll certainly share that with the group. That's the one that I can recall most recently that I've had the most discussion about, is that limitation that's within our charter that you don't see. I wouldn't say it every other city, but we would certainly be in the minority in terms of that debt capacity.
I have a question about the timeline of this charter review. So we're gonna go through this, we're gonna make recommendations. It seems like reviewing what was already sent to us, that a lot of these things have to go to ballot. Kind of all one at a time on a ballot. And since we vote in odd years, does this mean that we won't see change to the charter until 27, or is this something that would go on in 26? Obviously not 25 with our timeline.
I believe the thought would be, we would see this in 20.
We could. The council could decide.
Either year.
Yeah, a special election even perhaps, but it is not tied to an odd year. It could happen.
So I think, council will be interested in the recommendations that you have, and, based on those, there will be an assessment of what it would take to, educate the public. That's really the next step. I mean, you're all gonna get familiar with charter and what it all means, but if there are some measures that would be placed on the ballot, we would want to take appropriate time to educate the public on those. And then from there, we could probably, based on what we think that need is, we could, set election for next November, or there may be, some cases where the council would say, this really, we need more time with this, or this is more of a 2027 thing. But I think they'll be able to know once they have a sense for what those items are.
And it gets back to Lee's comment earlier about some things that you think are no-brainers. I mean, if you look at the things that were rejected and failed last time around, it was like cleanup items. I mean, it really wasn't anything that's material, and they were ignored essentially, and they were grouped in one ballot measure and it failed.
There's different theories about, what you bring and when you bring it. A lot of it depends on kind of the political climate. What other items are, from perhaps a state level that are also that are of interest. I mean, it pulls in folks that, it can be pretty polarizing depending on what's on a ballot. And so I wouldn't say there's strategy, but there's also a thought that if you bring a bunch of stuff that, folks may be less likely to vote for anything if there's like 700 things on the ballot that are just like, I'm really not gonna read all this, so no.
Yeah, the last state ballot, holy cow, it took like 3 hours to vote.
To be clear, as we start to kind of think about how this might play out, your committee will have a distinct firewall between this and any election process. Your, council's looking to you for those recommendations, some rationale, after this process, and based on what the council might want to take forward, or any other community group, there's nothing that prohibits you from being involved. But the charter review committee will have a distinct duration, and then from there you'll be on your own to have your own role in the election.
Back to being an individual.
One thing that's different now, 2014, besides the political climate, is, and I'm biased because I'm here now, but I would say the sophistication of the organization. So while the city can't campaign for or against ballot issues, we absolutely can educate and inform our public about ballot issues. And our communications and marketing team is top notch. The Littleton Report is one of the best communication devices according to resident surveys. We also have social media and the website, public meetings, community meetings, perhaps. Maybe even a mailer specifically designed to educate voters on whatever gets on there. So I wasn't here before, but I'm very confident about what the resources are available today to ensure that we inform the community effectively about what's being asked of it.
Yeah, there was a provision on railroad tracks that didn't pass. I think it's an irrelevant piece, but it failed in the election.
Was it right after the derails?
Yeah, wow. 70.
My question to the chair and vice chairs, would you recommend as assignment that we read the ballot next, like what would you recommend we be prepared for the next meeting?
Yeah, so in my view, there are 16 items, as far as I was able to count correctly, 16 articles. We have about 8 meetings or so for the first quarter of 2026. If we extend after that, that's up to us. Most items, except legal and financial, are doable within 2 hours, in my opinion. The legal and financial are quite massive sections that probably will require 1 each. So I would say 2 articles to 3 maximum per meeting seems doable. I think the first 2, and if I recall 3, I think Article 3 they're fairly straightforward. Or Article 4 is the one, because it has only 2 provisions. So I was thinking 1, 2, and 4 for our next meeting. That way we can kind of like, it's bite-sized. Again, there are the legislative article, the financial article, would probably will require us to get more expertise, more information for that. But that's my first thought. I don't know if Bill.
Well, I agree with you on as far as trying to handle size pieces. I think if we can handle 3 or so in the next 3 sessions, 3 or 3, that gives us.
Speak up.
We handle 3 per session in the next 3 sessions. It would probably work pretty well to get through. And then we can see if everyone behaves well and we do that. We may have Christmas week off. Holidays. It's somewhat a secular holiday now, so it's or it's every week holiday for reasons, but.
It would be nice to have, at least the Christmas season. Yeah, I think, I don't know, does anybody have a suggestion outside? One of the areas where I was actually going to ask is how much of this can we modernize, in the process? Because, in a regular process, people will have to submit their items for the agenda to the chair, and Colleen in this case, but is there a process in which, for example, like, let's say, Article 2, the elections, right? Let's say I want to change the word from election commission to election whatever.
Who was? Who was?
Yeah, there you go. But, before bringing it together, it'll be interesting if we could have a method that we can at least have some consensus pre-meeting. It's like, hey, we have some items. I don't know how, I know how to do it digitally, but I don't know if we have limitations when it comes to some of that.
So here's my experience from council. So Jose and Reed and Jim can jump in, and Mike, I'm sure will have an opinion, but his will be minor. Is anything that Colleen puts out that says this is gonna be on the agenda, make sure you consider it and be schooled on it before we meet.
Yes.
Will be a fair item that will not violate the meetings or open records.
Yeah. What's that? Okay, sounds good, yeah. The reason why is just to expedite some of the process, like if somebody has an idea, I guess the process would be to run it through Colleen and then she will. That's a great way to do it. I think that's a great, bigger system.
Are there any themes to the different articles? Like, do some of them pertain particularly to finance, some particularly to election and appointment? And if we can kind of clump them in a way that sort of makes sense with each other.
Yeah, and when I was looking at this previously, the first 4 articles, the recall ordinance it's a couple of sections. Cumbersome, but they are related to legislative body, who is qualified to run for city council. That's what the prior article speaks to, the legislative body, talking about qualifications. We recently, in terms of charter amendments, we actually relatively recently, got our direct elect mayor. Before, up until a couple of years ago, the mayor was appointed by the rest of the members of city council. That led to some interesting issues, but it was just probably awkward and uncomfortable. And so this was one of the first opportunities we had, Mayor Schlachter, where we actually had a direct elected here. So we have taken opportunities to go through that specific section and make some refinements. I know there are some suggestions to make some further refinements because we have some limitations on who can be mayor right now. But Josh, to your question, 2, 3, and 4, Articles 2, 3, and 4 all seem like they deal with kind of elections.
And I'll just add to that, for the first couple meeting planning, I think the elections items, there are a lot of them. I think when Colleen leads the group through kind of the history of election provisions in the charter, that are unreconciled with, state constitution, that will be something that will take some time. So that's one that'll take some time. And for the next meeting too, just as a, idea, you might leave a little time or plan for that time to have a group review of the previous discussions, because those have been issues, as Phil said. Some of those might make sense and, they've needed that cleanup. So it might be good for the committee to hear about those early in the
Like a
process.
little bit of a cheat sheet that's already.
Right.
Imagine if they made sense 10 years ago, they probably still make sense today. No.
So I have a question for the chair. You said articles 1, 2, and 4.
That was my thinking.
Why did you exclude 3?
It's a little longer, so we might not get through it unless we want to go sequentially and stop.
So you're not excluding it.
No.
Okay.
For next meeting, I thought that those we will be able to get through all of them, whereas if.
1, 2, and 4.
Correct. And if we get to, or if we try to get to 3, we might stop halfway. And that's okay, but.
I asked the question
Yes.
because I don't want it to be excluded.
Oh, for sure. Not excluded at all. Yes.
Speaking of exclusions, you may want to include in your plans the prefatory synopsis and the preamble.
I see. Those are relatively.
Brief and short, but
Short.
but you might have an opinion on.
Sure, no, it's fine. So if everyone is content with that, I mean, I would like to move that homework. If I was to second my motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so it'll be the prefatory synopsis, the preamble, Article 1, Article 2, and Article 4. Now, if there's any objection, that's okay, we can have discussion.
So when did you wanna go back to your idea?
Well, what I was gonna add to that was Jim's thought of including those that were recommended last time
Oh, yes,
as well.
I meant,
So that was a friendly amendment.
yes. That is to the, you're saying to the homework?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Okay, so we amend the motion. Do I have a motion to amend the motion?
Yes.
Second?
No, I'm the second.
Oh, perfect. No, you're the second to my motion.
That's right.
We need a second to amend the motion.
Who's on second?
You have to accept the amendment.
Yeah, you have to accept the amendment.
I can second the amendment. If you want to get that technical.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick clarification? Reed, you said that you were talking about how they were grouped. Does it make sense to talk about recall? We haven't talked about legislative pieces there. It feels that even though we did it based on size, is there any danger? I don't know, but is there any, is it the kind of thing where we'll get into it and then say, well, wait, we can't talk about this until we've talked about the.
I don't think that necessarily needs to follow. I mean, just when I'm looking at this, I see there's obviously a big section on facilities that makes sense to have that all grouped together. Once the city manager section should be several meetings long. That was just my observation, so just anything will make sense.
Whereas the city attorney section is.
We could do that over design.
Just cut it all out.
That was just a clarification.
Lines, and not to blow up the nomination, but is there a thought process as well? Cause 2, 3, and 4 are pretty heaty. Is there merit in starting with something a little easier, like, I don't know, Parks and Rec or? Oh yeah, you tell me, is there, just so we can get warmed up as a group
That's fine.
and hit our stride before we really dive into like the tough ones?
That's okay. I mean, I think that's a good suggestion. I will.
I don't know if any of these are easier than the others, but.
Not really, it's okay.
Did Colleen already have something in mind?
Maybe.
Actually.
Sure, I imagine that Jose and Colleen might be able to work together to come up with kind of a agenda for next time, if the group would be.
On consulting with Colleen, would you be willing to send out a email or have her send out an email with the things that we need to be up to date on.
Yeah, no, that's for sure, yeah, I mean, my suggestion is essentially, let's try to group them together, let's get them through groups. That way we can study those sections, we can bring some recommendations, or thoughts on them. And after that, we finalize that by voting and sending that recommendation to city council. Then they will take it from there. Right, understand correct? We're advising.
Yeah, well, you know, I did have an opportunity to speak with colleagues. We were just trying to figure out about this homework assignment for y'all, what made sense. And in our discussion, it was just 1 through 4, if you could get through it. And there's nothing to say that you have to get through it on any given meeting. If you need more time, then we're gonna take more time. We're not in any hurry to, you know, just skip over a section because we're trying to stay on schedule. It's important to have everyone's thoughts communicated and make sure everyone's heard.
If you thought that 1 through 4 is.
Just in terms of what seems like a proper grouping, that all seems election-y, if you will. Election. Elections, you know, qualifications for who should be on council, and the process for calling person who's on council. Then we start getting into, in terms of grouping, the next sections are ordinances and initiatives and referendums, and that seems more of contracty type things, and you know, how we introduce laws, how things become a law, citizens petitions, things like that. Seems like its own kind of little area. Then those following sections are city manager, boards and commissions, legal department. Those are dealing with kind of the direct appointees that our council has. Right now, it's kind of the judge, it's the city manager, it's the city attorney. Talks about kind of those qualifications and things. Then have a finance department, which may in itself be kind of its own topic. Fire, police, and health services, that has changed a little bit since 1959. Our fire department, outside of the volunteer fire department, which we still have in there.
You got voted down.
You know, has changed, and so perhaps there's some things in there that we can still take a look at.
I meant to ask Jim about volunteer fire department.
Who's on that? Yeah. Let you know if it ever happens.
Our fire services are from South Metro Fire and Rescue.
Yeah, and then when we start talking about, you know, city-owned utilities, that kind of, you know, we obviously have our wastewater treatment plant. Not obviously, we co-own the wastewater treatment plant with the city of Inglewood. It's a humongous plant, and it's like $1 billion plant. I mean, it's pretty fancy. That's
400,000 people.
a huge amount.
Billy?
If you guys ever want a tour of South Platte Renew, you should tour. It's actually really cool.
If you have a chance to go out to the farms.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the farm, not in this group per se, but council will be talking about the farms, in probably in a couple months. And we take waste from South Platte Renew and we take it out east to the Bennett Byers area. And we use it as fertilizer. The city of Inglewood, we own about 8,000 acres of land out east, so interesting fun stuff.
So just to go back for my own understanding, earlier we talked about public notice for the meeting agenda. So if we say we're gonna discuss articles 1 through 4, and we run over time and we don't get to number 4, and somebody's like, well, I was only here to observe for number 4. We're not under obligation to continue until midnight. But if we say we're doing 1, 2, and 3, then we are not allowed to discuss 4 because it was not on the agenda and people should have been notified.
We could probably figure out a way to agendize in a way that allows greater flexibility than rigidity. But the plan would be to cover what you plan to.
Right.
I do like Carrie's suggestion though, to start with, I think, very straightforward things like the last part of the charter. But I don't have a really strong opinion on that. I just like the idea of relatively lighthearted things, right? Parks and Rec, parks should be clean. You know, I'm just trying to use an example, right? The police should be awesome.
Just something to get warmed up.
The Parks and Recreation section, one section of the charter.
Well, we would group, that's essentially, essentially the thinking here is we take it sequentially or we group. And I mean, for me, I think for me, it makes sense to group them. But if you want to take them sequentially, I think we should just take it to a vote. Right now, we do have an amendment to the motion. So the best way to vote whether we want to do groupings or just sequential would be to rescind the motion. That would be me because I made the motion, so I'll just rescind my motion. So we can vote whether we're gonna take it sequentially or whether we're going to do it by groups. And if we take it by groups, we'll take a nomination for next meeting. Somebody want to move?
Can I clarify again? The city attorney pointed out that sequential is pretty grouped.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yes, it is. So I think
You do it sequentially in groups.
I would put the motion forward, or I would recommend the motion to do it sequentially. And because it's more or less grouped and we learn along the way.
I mean, I think one way or another, we're gonna go through all of them at some point. And so, I guess in my head, I think we're kind of doing a first pass and sort of making notes of what stands out to us, what's maybe outdated, what names. And so that's kind of the first pass. And then I think once we do that, we're gonna circle back and say,
We can revisit.
okay, now that with all that we know, coming back to elections, and we'll be preparing our final report, final recommendations and all that.
That's fine with
Can
me.
we do that? Can we do a first pass and then do like a?
So whatever we want.
It's up to you, I'm sure.
I mean,
Go through it as many times as you want.
I don't think next month will be like the last time we talk about elections. We're not gonna get it right the first time.
I second Dan's motion.
There you go. Thank you. So we have a second. Are there any questions to the motion, meaning comments or discussion on it?
Well, I'll leave it at this, which is also 1 through 4 would be fine with me, including failed items from last time. And my side comment to that is as we go through this, I have the experience of having gone through some of them. And I'm not sure, at least in my reading, that there's gonna be a whole lot of stuff there. So I think we're gonna be able to expeditiously march through those, or at least be in a position to highlight those we're gonna want to go back to. And we will set our process as we move along. So those are my thoughts.
Would you like to amend the motion?
No, that's just saying, I think getting a email from Colleen after you have a brief conversation with her, I hope it'll be brief. Well, and to have that be timely, because then we're talking about our next meeting being 4 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask what our goals are for these meetings? Cause are we just gonna discuss these things, be finishing these meetings and come with a list of what we would like to see changed? What is gonna be our takeaway from each of these meetings? Because we can all do the homework, but what's our goal
Yeah. We can discuss that.
right now?
Because we are discussing the motion. So the motion is to take the sequential order of this as a general rule for our committee review. So we're just gonna do it sequentially. And I think everyone is in agreement. Then we will vote what's the purpose, finally, what's the homework. I think those are the process.
Does it need to be this regimented? Can we have more discussion? And like, do we have to do motions and every time we have a change in opinion, or can we just talk about it? And then at the very end, we all come away with something, because I feel like we're just amending motion, like, can we get there quicker?
No, we can. That's fine. That's not me. I don't mind it. But I would like to at least vote that we are going to do this sequentially, and then we can talk and framework.
Okay. For the framework or what, how
Yeah, for the framework. Yeah, just that. So, there's no extra comments on this specific motion. we can vote. So, show of hands, I think should be sure. Okay, perfect. The framework will be sequential, so we'll just go through it. I'll talk to Colleen and then we'll send a recommendation for the agenda. I think Josh should bring a very good point. When it comes to what's the purpose of this, I think, we got a little bit of that in the beginning of the presentation, which is essentially send recommendations to city council about amendments to the charter. Now, this is a question I do have, as far as every meeting, do we send those recommendations and?
No.
We
I
just-
think the thought would be is, and this is subject to change, it's up to you all eventually, but a thought would be that at some point, we would probably give an update to our city council, whether that's in November or December, depending how far you are. Letting them know kind of what you've been working on, how it's looking, kind of a general just update in terms of what will be going. That's the thought.
You might have some iterative, they'll have some thought, you know, they'll have some feedback for you, and then you might come back and kind of work your way toward a recommendation.
Gotcha. I see. So,
Yeah, I mean, at some point, perhaps it works to be like, hey, we've gone through half the charter, we've all come to a decision in terms of our general consensus on here's the changes that we're recommending, and here's the reasons why, here's a pro, here's a con for doing it. This is what the committee is, as a body, is recommending for council. You know, there is the potential that we could send that sooner rather than later, but I would not say that the expectation is that there is a work product that actually is generated every single, we're not finalizing items every single. Great to check that off and say, we'll come back to this, or we're done with, you know, Article 1, those decisions, you know, I leave that up to you, but council is not necessarily waiting for a work product from you on it.
I would actually hope for a dialogue with council. If they haven't given us what their own thoughts are, sometime before that, we say, hey, we're working through this. Sure, if you want to say something, you better say it.
Oh, like send them our agenda, like, here's our next 4 meetings, here's what we're
They
gonna do.
they get them every week. They'll know what you're talking about. You know, to Josh's question about what do we want to accomplish each meeting, I think that we really would love for this committee to gain a level of confidence. They understand what the covered area was trying to address. And then if it's possible to decide, is there anything in there that we think should be changed, you know? And you can revisit it again in the future, but if you come out of the meeting saying, yep, we understand what was trying to be addressed, and yep, we think that there's these 10 things that should be changed. And then at the end, when you realize you have a list of 120 things that should be changed, you might go, what are the top 10? And you kind of figure that out from there. Now, to that point, while you all will be the ones giving the recommendation to council, we will do our best to inform you. And so we will bring, you know, our wisdom, experience, and biases for that matter, and try to say, hey, here's what we think about this, and here's what we would love for you to consider. We don't get a vote on it. You know, so ultimately it'll be up for you guys to decide whether or not you should take any kind of an action on those items. But each week we will, you know, and really between Colleen and Reed, they cover almost everything in the charter. There are some others, we'll bring some people in and share about why it's restricting or why it's empowering or what they hope to get out of it, and then you'll make a decision. But each meeting, we hope that you would understand what was in the sections that were covered, and you have some kind of a feel for whether you think that there should be recommended changes to that section.
I think there's a point out from Phil that, I mean, these 2 tabs are great. Like a real reasonable group of people 10 years ago went through this. They came out with a pink tab with a whole bunch of cleanup recommendations, and then they came out with an orange tab, which is 30 like more clear recommendations. Like we have a cheat sheet in front of us, like we can look at the I really would say we do it sequentially, but everyone read this because we may be able to cut this short and say they were great. Everything's fine.
And we adopt what they recommend.
And we adopt all the, but they have done all the work and they've looked through it and they're reasonable, and we can say what's changed in 10 years, but what hasn't. That's what my recommendation.
Yeah, I think that's a great. would it make sense, like, at the end of each meeting, just for each section, we're gonna either say needs change or no change? And we don't necessarily need to like finalize that change in that meeting, because that seems like a lot of work, actually. And I'm sure like you have your opinions and we're not lawyers and but if we could say like, this definitely needs to change, and then we could revisit near more the backside. Because the grouping is looking like it's more like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 meetings to get through everything, and that probably leaves like 2 or 3 meetings for us to
I think
delve into what we should
some
change.
sections, some groupings are gonna
A little longer.
Yeah, a little more.
A little more dense.
Yeah, so I think maybe just to kind of get the discussion going, I guess I'll like to propose a motion that as far as our goals for, I'd say, the first phase or grouping of our meetings, first 5 or 6 meetings, will be mainly just education and marking things for later discussion. Right, so maybe not necessarily trying to get into policy details of like, oh, I want it to be this specific language, right? So not wordsmithing. And then the second, as we get past the education section, and we're focusing on, well, what should actually change, which of course will have to include everything that was thought about before. Yeah, that's not a very clear motion, but yeah.
I respect that process, so that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, right. So basically, I guess to make the motion more clear, or if somebody else has better wording, it would be the first phase of our meetings would be primarily education and flagging for change later. And then the second phase of our meetings will be discussing what those changes should actually be, taking into account all the information that we have been, given through the first 5, 6 meetings.
Like that flag for revision, which sections?
Right.
Education and review, and then flag for revision and discussion.
Right.
That sounds great.
Right, versus like proposing specific policies.
Yeah.
Anybody want to second that framework?
Can I?
Any extra discussion on it? Okay, anybody in favor, raise your hand. Perfect. It carries.
And I have a suggestion to add with your discussion with Colleen on documents that might be rich for extra credit and not required, but a comprehensive plan and Horizon 2027 as documents, just to say this is part of the context of some of the discussions within the city about the future. And include those in the distribution.
Would you like to, I will speak with Colleen, would you like me to set up the next agenda, having heard some of these things, or would you want to send a recommendation? Anybody have a specific
I
recommendation?
got a couple.
Yes, that's fine.
We have 2 motions that have been voted upon.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
Who's taking the notes right?
I was just gonna ask
It's
that.
being recorded.
Okay, because Robert, we gotta write down who recorded.
So somebody's got to be taking the notes on what the motions were, who did the motions, who did the seconds. Right?
So
Okay, no, and that's gonna have to be published in the next output from this meeting or our next meeting. So we know what happened.
We'll have minutes. So when Colleen's here, she can go through all of how minutes work or records work, those kind of things. And answer questions, but generally speaking, the advisory boards do not approve or keep minutes, hard copies anymore. So the recorded version is the official record. And certainly, if you want, recaps, those kind of things, we can do things like that. But the actual, who made the motion, who made the second, how many people voted, those kind of things, it's for people to watch if they want to watch, but we don't keep a written record of it anymore.
That was controversial 10 years.
Yeah.
Because these aren't actions, these are.
And this is consistent with all of the advisory boards.
Fair enough.
So this is, whether it's the Transportation Mobility Board or the Arts and Commission Board or the Next Generation Advisory Board, this is how.
Wait. Mike, I'm not talking about every little aspect. But the motion that was made, that it's gonna be the first 4 things, it's gonna be sequential. And then the other motion about how we're gonna handle the meeting, that's like 4 sentences. That needs to be in whatever gets published for the follow-up meeting on the next Thursday, 4 nights from tomorrow. right?
I would say that it's helpful for the public to know how we're going to conduct business.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't wanna have to go back and look at some recording of this.
We can add a note. I don't think it's against the interest for the public for us to add a note and say, hey, we're doing it sequentially. And we're educating ourselves first, then reviewing, and then recommending the changes. I think, and I took notes on that. So I always take notes when it comes to that, just, yeah, for those.
I just have a quick clarification for the city folks.
Yeah.
Are we being a little too formal here? Like.
It's up to you how you want
It
to.
seems to me whenever there's like a discussion session and I've not sat on council, they like suspend all that and then they get talking and they actually get through it. And I agree with Josh, like this feels really formal and I think there might be moments for formality, but I would put a motion forward to be less formal. It just,
Second.
it feels like we're stilting our conversation. We might next session realize that that's not the right way to go through it. We should do it differently. I don't know.
I think we should capture our decisions.
I mean, this is really kind of, it's that first awkward, I think as we go, these are the discussions that will evolve and they'll be more organic. And I think we're gonna just be more comfortable with one another and it just gets better and better as we go.
Well, it's also, I think, trying to get the process of how it's going to be done. It's usually the first step, because it's 4 weeks from now, we're gonna have a lot of things to do. As far as I know, next steps would be for me to Pauline. I'll also talk with Phil. If he has any extra changes, and as soon as we can, send you the agenda for the next meeting. So we can kind of get started reviewing some of these topics. Like Phil said, the orange and pink slips are very helpful. Dan also said cheat sheet. Yeah, I mean, besides that, I don't think there's anything extra that we should do today.
I move we adjourn.
Second that.
But one last thing, so for the next agenda, to remind everybody, also, it would be helpful to put an item on there to review the red tab, sign the last page and bring that back with you.
Yes.
We will need to do that during the next meeting.
Gold star.
Someone is trying.
Colleen's bestie,
All right. Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn. We have a second. Everyone in favor? Aye. There you go.
Thank you, everybody.
Meeting is adjourned.
Oh,